Arriving in Osaka in the flush of early spring, the city's cherry blossoms had barely begun to open, and evening showers left a glimmering polish along the sidewalks. For Kenji, touring was as familiar as the calluses on his fingers from guitar strings. Each city was a jumble of train schedules, ramen shops, and unfamiliar beds, save for this hotel, Hotel Yume no Kage. 3 stars hidden on a side street, was not grand. It was barely memorable to most, but not to Kenji. He'd stayed there so often that his bags always seemed to find their way precisely into place. Even the sheets, starched and coarse, felt like his own. On every arrival, he would nod to the lobby's night clerk, take the same elevator with its uneven hum, and settle into a room overlooking the neon alleys below. This year was different. As his band's battered tour van idled on the curb, Kenji slung his bag over his shoulder. The lobby was warmly lit in the familiar yellow hue, the scent reminiscent of cleaning solution and lilies from some unseen vase. The night clerk, a solemn, middle-aged man whose name Kenji had never bothered to ask, greeted him, not with the usual tired smile, but with a hint of apprehension. "I'm sorry, Mr. Kenji," the clerk began, sifting through reservations. "Your usual room is unavailable tonight. A small issue. We ask that you take another." But Kenji, his patience thinned by weeks of touring and the exhaustion only musicians know, insisted. "I've stayed in that room for 5 years. It's open." He pressed, not noting the tightening of the clerk's hands as they gripped the desk. "I'm not fussy, I just want it." After a lingering silence, the keys were handed over, but with a heavy, quiet reluctance. "Room 407, the clerk said, not quite meeting Kenji's eyes. "If there are any issues, please, let the staff know immediately." Kenji shrugged it off. In his mind, issues meant a broken air conditioner, a stuck window, maybe a flickering bulb. As he made his way to the elevator, he barely noticed the mop marks on the floor or how the cleaning cart remained parked by 407's door even as night fell. The room was unchanged. Thin carpet muted in color, a single landscape print bolted to the wall, a lingering draft near the window. Exhausted, Kenji unpacked, showered, and collapsed onto the mattress. Outside, the rain softened, and the city's nightlife trembled on the wind. He did not notice at first anything unusual. The room felt colder than typical, but he wrote it off to fatigue. Sleep came in strange, shallow waves until a sound woke him in the deepest dark. The first night, there was a gentle rapping at the door. Kenji blinked awake. The red digits of the bedside clock announced it was 2:15 a.m. The knocking repeated, a crisp, mechanical rhythm, neither urgent nor hesitant. Rolling from bed, Kenji peered through the peephole, but saw nothing, only the dull hallway outside, empty as a closed school. He shrugged, chalking it up to a fellow traveler with the wrong room. On his way back to the bed, however, he hesitated. Beneath the door, a thin, quick shadow moved, too fast for a person to have come or gone. He opened the door. The hallway was deserted, save for the cleaning cart, now suspiciously close to his room, its mop angled like a pointing finger. He locked up, unsettled but fatigued, and resolved to ignore it. The next night, it happened again. At exactly 2:15 a.m., the knocking returned, unnaturally precise. This time, Kenji walked to the door quickly, throwing it open in the hopes of catching the prankster. What he saw instead made the hairs on his neck bristle. A hotel staff member stood there in the crisp blue uniform of the cleaning team, A young woman, skin almost translucent under the corridor's lights, her hair tucked beneath a cap. She did not carry towels or supplies, not even the cart, which he realized was now gone. She bowed slightly. "Do you need towels, sir?" Kenji forced out a laugh. "No, I'm fine, thanks. I'm trying to sleep, actually." She did not smile. Instead, her voice, hollow and soft, repeated, "Do you need towels, sir?" Word for word, the same cadence as before. "No, thank you," Kenji said, irritation blurring his unease. She bowed again, more deeply, and walked down the hallway without a sound. A silence so complete, it vibrated with the sense of something missing. He watched until she turned the corner, then shut the door, drawing the bolt firmly. The electronic lock whirred, and for a moment, he considered heading back downstairs, but pride braced his resolve. It's just an odd staff member. Maybe new, maybe nervous. Osaka hotels were always cycling through night staff, but as Kenji tried to settle, he could not shake the sudden chill. The room, already cold, felt glacial now. Maybe it was the draft, or perhaps his own nerves. The third night, the band played late. Kenji lingered at a smoky izakaya afterwards, sipping sake until the clock rolled dangerously close to 1 a.m., delaying his return. But exhaustion and beer eventually won. He found himself hesitating at the elevator, almost considering another hotel. Back in 407, his unease only deepened. The room seemed subtly rearranged. His toothbrush was on the wrong side of the sink. The TV remote, which he never used, was neatly placed atop the mini fridge. In the bathroom, the towels hung in an unfamiliar fold. Hospital corners. Perfectly sharp. He called the front desk, annoyed. "Your staff keeps bothering me late at night. I just wanted to sleep." The night clerk, his voice strained, replied, "We apologize deeply, Mr. Kenji. I will speak to the cleaning team. Please, if it happens again, call immediately." Sleep was impossible. Kenji lay flat, eyes wide, following each sound. Pipes clanking, elevators rising and falling, the distant trill of laughter from city streets far below. The clock crawled toward 2:15 a.m. As if on cue, the knocking resumed, even sharper now. Kenji, emboldened by indignation and fear, flung the door open. The hallway was empty, yet, no, not empty. At the far end, in the darker patch by the fire escape, stood the cleaning woman again. She did not move, just watched, her face blank, lips moving in a silent chant. Kenji stepped into the corridor, shivering as the air pressed coldly against his skin. "Excuse me, what are you doing? Stop waking me up," he called. Her whisper reached him, impossible to make out entirely, but the words, "You shouldn't be here," echoed, faint and dissolving. Behind him, his door swung shut, and in that reverberating silence, Kenji's stomach dropped. Heart thudding, he hurried back, but the lock had jammed. No amount of rattling produced the satisfying click. He was locked out at 2:16 in the morning, alone with the cleaning woman, who still did not move closer or away. Desperate, Kenji sprinted for the stairs, racing down each level until he arrived breathless at the lobby. The night clerk seemed unsurprised to see him. "Mr. Kenji, please, come to the back office with me." Inside, walls crowded with dusty binders and old calendars. The clerk poured tea, but Kenji declined, his hands shaking. "Your cleaning lady keeps knocking on my door every night at 2:15. She waits outside. She's just standing there. I can't sleep. And now I'm locked out." This is insane. The clerk sat quietly for a moment, then sighed, heavy, almost mournful. Mr. Kenji, the staff has not entered that floor since we closed room 407 for maintenance last month. The cleaning team does their rounds before midnight, and no one is scheduled after that. You asked for the room. I tried to warn you. This visit, it is not from us. Kenji laughed, strained, as the logic of the world started to slip. Sir, I speak to her every single night. I see her. What are you telling me? The clerk's eyes, watery and frightened, met his. A guest passed away in that room 2 months ago. She was alone, one of our long-term cleaning staff, off duty. She complained of feeling cold. They found her at 2:15 a.m., sitting by the window, towels neatly folded beside her. After that, strange occurrences began. We closed the room, but you insisted. Kenji shook his head, throat tight. No way, this is a joke. The clerk only bowed his head. I am truly sorry. We have asked a blessing, but it seems disturbances continue. Trying to rationalize, Kenji demanded to see the security tapes. They would prove he had been visited by a living woman, a flesh and blood person with a name, a schedule. But when the clerk showed him the footage, his stomach lurched. At 2:14 a.m., Kenji, a spectral blur in the camera's old grainy monochrome, opened his door. There was no one on the opposite side. He called out, wandered a step into the hall, and shut the door. Only shadows played where he swore the cleaning lady had stood. He watched himself from an cold vantage, isolated, confused, hands gesturing to empty space. At the corridor's end, the area that looked darker on the camera flickered, writhing slightly, as if something pressed against the film from another side. The clerk refused to let him return to 407 that night. He offered Kenji a different room, a free breakfast, anxious words of apology that only deepened the musician's unease. Back in a different bed, Kenji kept all the lights on. The tour finished, and Kenji tried to tell himself that exhaustion and grief had produced some kind of stress-induced vision. But in every city's hotel, as he placed his head on new pillows, he heard the same creak and sweep of imaginary mops, the crisp, mechanical knock of someone asking about towels just a little too late in the night. And when he found, at 2:15 a.m., the faint scent of lilies and cleaning solution lingering at the edge of his dreams, he realized some rooms are never truly unoccupied, especially when you force open a door the world intended to keep closed. So if you visit Osaka and the staff hesitate before assigning you a room, it's wise to listen. There are stories that linger in the walls, footsteps that echo from slippers no longer in use, and gentle knocks that carry with them the chill of those who have not quite left. Don't ask for the closed room. Respect the unavailable floor, and never open the door for a staff member whose smile is just a little too cold, whose requests echo with unfinished longing, even if all they ask is, "Do you need towels, sir?" Don't do this in Japan. A warning whispered in neon-lit alleyways, in crowded college cafeterias, in the shadowed spaces where young people glance down at phones, scrolling past promises and threats. But warnings often come disguised as opportunities. In the heart of Osaka, beneath the endless hum of commuter trains and the soft glow of paper lanterns, Kaido found himself struggling beneath the weight of his decisions. Tuition was due next week. Rent, groceries, phone bills piling up like autumn leaves along the riverbank. The city offers no solace for those who fall behind. Kaito's roommates joked about side gigs, delivery shifts, tutoring, convenience store clerking through sleepless nights. But none of those would cover the months he was behind, and none of them promised what he needed most of all: fast, easy money. That's when Kaito stumbled upon the app in a late-night forum, sandwiched between threads about ghost sightings, urban legends, and anime. Rent a boyfriend. It sounded absurd, yet the user reviews were filled with tales of quick payouts and zero commitment. You log on, post your photo and a profile, and lonely women, sometimes men, message you seeking companionship, a dinner date, an arm around their shoulders, in front of jealous friends. All for an hourly rate that dwarfed even the busiest jobs at the konbini. Kaito hesitated, but desperation blurs lines. He uploaded his picture, messy hair, half smile, eyes hoping the camera wouldn't see his fear. He filled out answers: age, height, hobbies, favorite music, favorite food. Within hours, messages trickled in. Flirtatious, hesitant, lonely. He made enough within a week to ease the worst of his worries. But then there was the message. She called herself Ray. Her profile was almost blank. No photo, just a drawing of a white rabbit against a velvet black night. Her message was direct. My family lives in the countryside just outside of Osaka. My grandmother's birthday is coming. I need someone to come with me, to pretend to be my boyfriend. We will spend the weekend. I will pay you triple your usual rate, all expenses covered. A chill crept over him. Why was she offering so much? He typed, "Why can't you bring a friend or a relative?" But deleted it. Her offer was too tempting. What could possibly go wrong in the countryside? Osaka's urban sprawl gave way to forested hills as the train sped away from the city. At the tiny village station where he disembarked, the world was painted in muted greens and deep shadows. Ray waited on the platform, slim and pale, in a dusk-colored dress. Her hair curled over her shoulder, and her eyes seemed to shine with something old, something that had seen too many secrets. She greeted him with a polite, careful bow. Her voice was soft, melodic, and yet her accent was off. Too formal, like a radio host from 50 years ago. They said little as they climbed into her car, and the drive wound through ancient cedar groves and tunnels of bamboo, further and further from the familiar. Your family lives far from the village, Kaito ventured, hoping to fill the silence. Ray's hands tightened on the wheel. Yes, grandmother enjoys her privacy. No neighbors. You may find the house peculiar, but please do not comment. She is sensitive to outsiders. Night had fallen by the time they arrived at the mansion. It was 3 stories high, built in an old Meiji style, with latticed windows and a roof shaped like a dragon's spine. The air was thick and heavy, weighing on Kaito's chest as he stepped out onto the moss-carpeted path. The inside was colder than the night air. Heavy wooden beams groaned above, and the wind keened around the eaves, searching in crevices. The walls were lined with faded paintings of women in white, their eyes gazing at some impossible horizon. Something about the house made him feel as if he'd already been here, in dreams, mottled with grief. The grandmother awaited them in the grand room, seated at the head of a lacquered table that stretched into darkness. She was impossibly old, her skin nearly translucent, every bone defined as if made of glass. Her kimono shimmered with faint ash and rose. Her smile was thin, her voice the rustle of ancient leaves. "How good of you to join us, Kaito," she said. though neither of them had introduced him. Ray has spoken highly of you. Ray bowed deeply, and from her position, she seemed to shiver. Kaido bowed too, unsure, and thanked the grandmother for her hospitality. Dinner was served. Dishes elegant and unfamiliar. Some tasted metallic, others sweet enough to ache. Nobody else appeared, though echoes drifted through empty halls. Once, a door creaked open down the corridor, and Kaito glimpsed a figure watching. A girl in white, hair hanging over her face. Every time he glanced at Ray, her eyes flicked away, hollow as deep wells. After the meal, and the endless, murmured toasts for the grandmother's health, they were shown their rooms. Ray's was on the top floor, west wing. Kaido's was all the way at the eastern end, past old shoji screens, painted with scenes of foxes and midnight funerals. Before she left, Ray pressed a paper charm into his hand. Pale as bone, inscribed in a shaky red ink. "Hang this by your door," she whispered, eyes wide. "No matter what you hear, do not open it tonight." He wanted to protest, to ask why, but the hallway yawned behind her, swallowing her silhouette. He did as she said, pinning the charm to the lintel. The air in his room was thick and unmoving. Beneath the thin blanket, Kaito listened to the sounds of the house shifting, as if settling old bones. Somewhere, bells chimed, soft and far away, then closer, closer, ringing through the floorboards. He heard footsteps, bare and shuffling, dragging, first down the hallway, then outside his door. Something scratched at the paper walls, light as feathers. Insistently, "Kaito-san," came a whisper, a child's voice, sweet and hungry. "Let me in. I'm so cold." He squeezed his eyes shut, heartbeat frantic. He thought of Ray's warning, of the ancient eyes glinting with secrets at dinner. The charm fluttered in a sudden draft, the ink pulsing red in moonlight. "Kaito-san," the voice urged, rising in pitch. A hand pressed against the shoji, so pale it glowed. "It's your turn, Kaito-san. Won't you come play?" All night, the voices scraped at his door, sometimes giggling, sometimes weeping. Fingers scrabbled, nails clicking, then silence. Shadows lengthened beneath the doorframe, shadowed shapes with too many joints, with mouths where mouths should not be. He did not sleep. Dawn carved the room in gold, and when he opened his eyes, the charm was gone, burned to ash on the sliding door. Outside, the house was silent as a tomb. Downstairs, Ray waited at the table, eyes red-rimmed, cheeks hollow as if she'd aged decades in a night. "Did you open the door?" she asked. "No," he said, voice barely a thread. "You're lucky." Her smile was mournful. "Not everyone is so careful." He asked her, "What are they?" But she only shook her head. Over the next 2 days, the grandmother's birthday stretched on, an endless vigil, rituals and prayers in rooms sticky with incense. Men and women drifted in and out, none staying long, all with the same hungry, sunken look. Every night, Ray gave him another charm, and every night, the voices returned, louder, angrier, pleading. He peeked through the cracks once, just once. On the other side, figures crawled through the dust, mouths stretched wide, eyes bleeding shadows. They chanted his name like a curse. On the final day, as he prepared to leave, Ray caught him by the wrist. Her hands were freezing. "You must not return," she said. "If anyone contacts you by the app, If anyone says they are family, block them. Delete the app. Forget us. Kaito escaped in daylight, feeling the house glaring after him, its empty windows bottomless. He deleted the app, changed his number, moved across town. He never told anyone, never accepted another side gig, but sometimes, in the hours between dreams and waking, his phone vibrates. A new message from a profile with a white rabbit. Sometimes, he hears the faintest voices at his door whispering, "Let me in. It's your turn, Kaito-san." And sometimes, on the edge of sleep, he wonders what would have happened if he'd opened the door. Whether his face would now haunt the dreams of strangers who foolishly answer mysterious invitations, who travel too far into darkness for the sake of easy money. He dreams of the house, the endless hallways, the painted screens, the grandmother's ancient, knowing smile. The house waits, patient, for the next visitor who doesn't heed warnings, who doesn't know that some jobs are invitations to terror. So if you ever scroll the Rent-A-Boyfriend app on a desperate night, if someone offers too much in a lonely house far from the city, remember Kaito's story. Remember the charm on the lintel and the promises whispered beyond paper walls. Do not open the door, because behind it, something ancient awaits, and it is always hungry. So very hungry. The trains to the countryside still depart. Every hour, the forests still grow, deep and concealing, swallowing secrets and those foolish enough to chase them. Kaido's story has faded in the city's rush, a warning drifting on the neon-lit wind. But if you listen closely, in the hush between last trains, you might hear the bells and the voices and the endless, patient scratching at the shoji screens. And you will remember, do not do this in Japan.